Okay. So, hi, Jamie. Thanks so much for joining us from the UK.
Hi there.
How are you today? I know it's 9 o'clock in the evening on a Wednesday. So, yeah, how are things with you?
They are okay, quite raw. Um, lot of mixed things going on, challenges. Um, yeah, today's been a great, or this whole time is a great lesson for all the things externally that I sometimes grasp after, just to keep reminding myself every time that feeling of I need to get it from that person or I need to get it from over there, to keep coming back to the own energy I'm feeling in my own body and use it as a yes, can I be with this moment? Yes. Can I be with this moment? Yes. And that's my practice is can I be with this moment? Yes.
Wow, that's awesome. So the whole reason why we're chatting is just to bring the flavor of Uplift and the people who spoke there and the people that attended it to all of our beautiful friends in Sydney who weren't present. So, yeah, I was just wondering if you could just tell me a bit about your experience of Uplift, like how you felt, how it went for you, you know, just share that with us.
Yeah, it was a beautiful community of people that are change makers or illuminators or just feeling like they want to be connected to people who are present and responsible. And when I say responsible, what I mean is not living a life where we're complaining about governments or complaining about the state of the world or global warming or our mum, where we're looking at everything that's challenging as our curriculum, as our superhero training, and looking at all the things we've survived as our opportunities to be trained in gifts. That's responsible to me, no blame. We may have preferences that the external world is different, but to act as if the way everything else is and the way everyone else is why I don't feel good is the great trap of our modern age. So it was good to be around a lot of people who are with that, not always successful, none of us are, but with that basic intention. And yeah, it was fantastic. I did a couple of things, and they were pretty packed with people that were ready to be foolish and playful. And for me, foolishness and playfulness is the core hub engine of what makes us able to do this. Because without lightening up, the whole idea of a spiritual path or any kind of a path is just a drag. Competing against yourself, competing against your slave driver that's telling you you're not doing it enough. And the moment you're playful and foolish, you realize that this path of any path is like a rodeo horse covered in Vaseline. You're going to be on your ass on the ground 1,000 times a day. If you're not finding it funny, it's going to be unpleasant. Better to just not do it, really. So it was a really good vibe. And my stay in Australia was too short. It was a shame to only be there like just over a week. Always sad to leave. Um, yeah, I had a great time. Hope to come back.
Hmm. And were you with everyone before Uplift? Were you part of the elders gathering?
Yeah, I was.
And
And
how?
it really brought up the part of me that wanted to just jump on, because everyone was so beautiful and so loving and so light warrior, and we're going to do this, and it's such a blessing to do that. I just wanted to jump up and down and shout "bum" quite a lot, but I contained it mostly. I mostly contained it, but it does press my buttons when a bunch of healers and teachers get together. It just makes me want to disrupt everything.
And was there anything that you like learned from that experience, or were there any kind of golden nuggets of awesome that you've learned from anyone in particular during that experience? Because
So many, too many to mention. Um,
Mhm.
very graciously hosted, very beautifully, abundantly laid on. Um, quite a high percentage of white people, but that's okay. And it wasn't. You know, there's always a bit like that. And you go to a lot of festivals or talks in different places, and it's very dominantly white. It seems like having a spiritual path and getting interested in this way of doing it. Um, is not as multicultural as I would like it to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a little complaint there. Just thought I'd chuck that in. Uh, Tim McCartney was one of the presenters, and just being around him and his energy and his authenticity and his leadership is always a big turn on. And his talk was amazing, and just the whole space that he held throughout the whole thing was an example to all of us. So yeah, he's one that always just stays in my mind, as and Patch Adams as well. Great foolishness radiating from that man. They were very memorable.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I was present for your talk on the main stage, and also in the visionary tent, the like little mini workshop that you ran. Yeah, it was.
Oh, so you know.
Yeah, I was there, and I mean, at Spread the Love, I'm going to show there's a like an 8 or 10 minute clip of the talk that you gave, so that everyone can experience your talk about the, which I thought was really, really, really powerful, and you know how stuff comes up and it's so easy to push it down rather than allow it through. But I love how playful you are with the shadow, and how playful you are with the dark, and how you know, again, I think in the spiritual path it's so easy to just be love and light and rainbows and, you know, fairies and dolphins, but you know, we're human beings having a human experience, and until we disappear out of these physical bodies, those polarities are part of the experience. So I just wondered, you know, it was really clear in comparison to a lot of the other people that spoke, although Lisa Rankin spoke about shadow quite a lot, and also Scarlett's talk, you know, obviously touched upon it just because of, you know, the nature of her story. But I guess, I don't know, I was just wondering if you could just talk to me a bit about, you know, why that's important to you. I know you talk about the importance of lightening up, but is there anything else? Is there any other reason why it's so important to kind of dance with that aspect of us?
If you don't dance with that aspect of you, you're going to be constantly judging things externally, constantly hating yourself for parts of yourself that are there and are never going away, and missing the great treasure, because it's through the shadows and it's through the pain and through the sort of shame or vulnerability of being seen in it and all that, you know, being maybe rejected or not approved of. It's through that the great treasure is, you know, and you can't live a life of only trying to push the light and you know, avoid the dark, because then it gets bigger. Whatever you suppress starts banging down the door to get to you. You know, if you play with the shadows, like the Tibetan Buddhists say, feeding meat to the demons, if you give them a little bit of oxygen, because they are alive, those shadow parts of ourselves, the neediness, the greediness, the anger, the overexcitement, the want for attention, that, you know, all the different stuff that we hope no one sees. If you don't play with it and you constantly deny it, go, no, I'm past that stuff, it's going to come and get you. You're stuck. If you're pushing it away, you're just as stuck as if you're grasping it. But if you're neither pushing it away nor grasping it, but you're like, yeah, hello again, and you're like not making it a big deal, then it hasn't got any power over you. You know, I've done games in my workshops where we blow the ego out of all proportion. We go egomanic and really like just go crazy with the ego and just be, you know, just let it off the leash, just to see all the resistance and shame that comes up when you do that, because we've been so taught, especially in spiritual stuff, to be, oh no, ego, it's terrible, ego. So you really see how stuck you are, what an egomaniac you are, if you can't even play at having a massive ego as a game. You're stuck, you know? And so like, I want to live a whole life. I want to meet everything as a whole. And the great shift that's happening in our culture, especially spiritually at the moment, is we are no longer on a journey towards light and away from the darkness. That's the old paradigm. It's totally judgmental. It's totally competing against ourselves, not based in reality. So it's no wonder it's, you know, not going anywhere. We're now on a journey towards darkness and light, mine, yours. And the more I have permission for my own darkness, the more I'm not going to give you a hard time about yours. In fact, the more I have permission about my darkness, and I'm okay to go, yeah, I'm so, you know, I was totally enraged about this, or I was totally greedy about that, and just be like, no big deal about it, then you feel permission to go, yeah, me too. And really, my whole message or my whole practice and what I hope we're all moving to is a culture of, yeah, me too. Not, no, no, him, not me. Yeah, me too. I'm a mess. You a mess? Yeah, wounded freak. We're all a wise guru in charge of a mental patient. And the sooner we accept that, and therefore I don't mind you being a mental patient, and we can all be mental together rather than exhausting ourselves wearing masks to look like we're not. That's what's got us into this problem. And we start needing to create these great big demons like George Bush or Dick Cheney or whoever. We need to create these great demons because they are the denied part of ourselves, and when everybody's denying it, you need to make massive ones. But if we're all in permission of it, we don't need to make. We just can have little demons running around, and it'll be safer for all of us.
Yeah, and this is the funny thing. You wake up and you're like, oh, I'm all spiritual and there's no ego, and then you move into spiritual ego and it's like there's even more judgment than before.
It's worse. It's worse. The spiritual ego is, the spiritual ego which is denied, and I've meditated for 23 years. I'm like, well, have you? Doesn't sound like you're doing it right.
Yeah, it's really, it's an interesting one. So
it's really fun to pull the tail of people like that, to see really how grounded they are, because like Ramdas says, or Gabrielle Roth used to say, he goes, it's quite easy to meditate in a cave on a hill where they bring you your food. It's like, it's challenging, but at the end of the day, you've got nothing to distract you. Try meditating during Christmas shopping on Fifth Avenue in New York, and then we'll see how far you've come.
Yeah.
So there's nowhere to come. Yeah. This is another trip. The idea that I'm doing this much spiritual practice and I'm getting better and better as I go along is the biggest trap, because the spiritual path, enlightenment, is not getting to a stage where this stuff doesn't bother you anymore, or getting to a stage where I'm different and better and cleaner, and enlightenment is loving myself as the wounded freak I am now. If I can't love myself exactly at this level of evolution, if I can only love myself when I'm doing more yoga, then I'll be better. If I can't love myself just at this dysfunctional, messed up level that I'm at now, there's no possibility for change, and there's no enlightenment possible. It's only loving myself as this messed up human that is the game. Not trying to not be the messed up human. That ain't gonna change.
Yeah.
It's about not minding that I am this much of a mess.
Yeah, and hoping that by setting an intention, we just get a little bit slightly less messed up every day, but being okay with.
Okay, as long as you don't mind if you don't. I mean, have the intention, have the preference.
Yeah.
But don't mind if you don't achieve it, because otherwise you're going to be violent to yourself that you didn't achieve what you wanted, and immediately you're doing the opposite of love, which is self-violence and judgment.
Yeah.
And even if you're just disappointed in yourself and, oh, I really thought I was past this stuff, that's just as violent. It's just still totally missing the point. Anthony DeMello says, when people come up to you and say, how could you say such a stupid thing? Most people go, that wasn't stupid. But, he's like, when people come up to you and say that, you go, stupid, you should have heard what I said yesterday. Run onto the blade. Just say, yes, I'm a mess. And then everyone else can go, yeah, me too. Phew, what a relief, I don't have to pretend anymore. And then all that energy that we reclaim by not wasting it wearing masks, that I'm fine, I'm okay, the kids are fine, see you Sunday, all the energy that we reclaim by not doing that, by not holding up this pretense, we reclaim for our creative pursuits and our passions.
Yeah. Yeah, because it takes energy to push that stuff down.
Massively. Of course it does. It takes energy to be inauthentic. Yeah. And if you're in a job where you've got to be the good, confident, whatever, fine version of yourself 8 hours a day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then get home to your family and not be authentic with them because you can't let the children see that you're struggling, or you can't let your mum see that you're rageful, or whatever, you're doing it during work, you're doing it when you get home. How exhausting.
Yeah.
And unproductive and not real.
Yeah.
And then you die.
And then maybe you come.
Oh, shit, I was just a.
So I was just wondering, if you're anything like me, I don't know, like Uplift for me was really profound, and I had so many aha moments and so many realizations, and so many things that I've brought into my life now as a result. I was just wondering if if there was anything that you wanted to share with us that you had a realization around, or someone shone a light on whilst you were there. Um,
Well, when you're as enlightened as me, those aha moments are few and far between. You have to grasp them when they come. Stay in Australia a lot longer was
yeah,
was a big one. Um,
because
because it's just so wonderful, and there's a lot of hippies, but there's a quite high percentage of like quite grounded hippies. It's not just like Wookiee sort of. There's a lot of people who sort of can't pass through the other end, where you can actually have a conversation and feel like you're meeting an actual person, not a version, and that felt really exciting. Um, just had some beautiful times being in nature, swimming in the tea tree lakes, or listening to the racket of insects and everything eating itself outside, and the big heavy raindrops powering down, and everything is sex and juicy and delicious, and it was just lovely to be impacted by that, to be in the feminine of just allowing it to really impact me, rather than be busy teaching and busy talking and busy coaching and busy being this guy who ... It was really nice to find a little bit of space and be impacted, and just wander around to see what was going to be the next gift.
mm, yeah. And is there anything um, like, were you present for the Indigenous the Elders talk? Were you there for that?
Not in the festival, but in the lead up bit, the VIP prequel.
Yeah.
Yes, and yeah, I mean, the Elders is another great example of how so many of the wrong myths that we've been sold. Our whole culture deifies youth and just worships the young who don't know anything and are just stupid mostly, like sort of just not haven't had any life experience yet to be unstupefied.
Yeah.
And all the elders who actually really have the wisdom and really have had experience and have had enough suffering in their life to be super compassionate and wise, well, they just aren't on telly. They're just like, they're not interesting in the media, and so it's one of the great myths we've been sold is to reject the old and go for the young, and it's the wrong way around. So it was beautiful to be in a space where the elders were being listened to and respected and honoured. Yeah,
Mm,
it'd be lovely to see more elders in Australia given more of a platform.
yeah. And it's interesting because that was something that came strongly through for me, and through what I do is spread the love. And this is again one of the main reasons why I'm putting on this Uplift download, because not only do I want to share the beautiful people who spoke and the messages that they shared, but most importantly actually to share the message that we had and were given from the Indigenous elders around the world, because it's a really important one and a really powerful one, and it's a calling from Gaia and Mother Earth through them, because they're so connected to her, for us to all come together and give her more of a hand than we perhaps have been.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it
yeah,
would be wonderful if we weren't so if just on the material plane, if we weren't quite so addicted to our comfort zone. That would be, it's just like, it's very well to say, well, I want to help Mother Earth, I want to think, but then you're filling up your car at the Esso station, giving money to one corrupt company, or you're getting food that happens to have lots of plastic packaging on it, and that's going to go in a landfill forever. And within the boundaries of not having to be a hassle for myself, I'll help Mother Earth. When we are more in a culture where we're willing to embrace discomfort and comfort, we're not constantly going towards the comfort, away from the discomfort, and we're willing to embrace both, we'll be more willing to make the kind of letting goes we're going to need to make to actually make a difference. It's going to involve, in England, not having bananas in your muesli for most of the year, because the amount of petrol it takes to ship them in, it's horrific what actually has to happen for a British person to eat a banana. Now, are we willing to not have bananas for most of the year in Britain or not. You know, and it's a small thing, but it's like one of the most basic things. There's a list of 100 of them. Unless you're willing to, in many ways, not have your bananas, then they ain't gonna be no change.
It's good. We should start a campaign. Are you willing to not have your bananas? Um,
And lots of other things. You know, it's like we're going to have to simplify.
yeah.
Um, you know, so many of the people watching this have an iPhone. You know, it's one of the most common things we have. We all, you know, plenty of people who think they're a spiritual warrior or on the path of whatever have an iPhone. People jump out of factories in China out of the window because of the working conditions to make that gadget. We just turn a blind eye to it, or we vote in a government to go and do our dirty work for us and sell guns and bombs to different countries, especially in America and England. I mean, America and England peddle a lot of the guns and bombs of the world. You know, they arm both sides of most conflicts we know about, and are telling us, oh, we're going over on a peacekeeping mission. Well, you can't be making a profit from selling the guns and bombs to both sides and be going on a peacekeeping mission to stop the war at the same time. That's just stupid. And no one's, well, maybe everyone's buying it. I'm not buying it. Are we willing to let go of being gun runners?
Mm.
Are we?
Mm.
Because if we're voting those people in, then we are complicit. You know, there's a lot we can do just by not supporting those things, being a vigilante consumer. I think one of the most useful things we could do is have a website, you know, that says, you know, if we had a new thing on the side of every food that had a new standard of score out of 10. You know, 1 for how environmentally friendly this product is, 1 for how well they treat their people, 1 for how sustainably, futuristically, whatever. You know, and then you can just look at each one and we can know, okay, no, I'm not going to buy that one. But of course, that's not put on the packaging because then we would do that.
Yeah, nothing would get bought.
Yeah.
We'd all have to go to our local farmers markets instead. So just to come back to Uplift, just to kind of start to bring this to a close, I was just wondering if there was anything that you took from Uplift that you were like, I'm really going to take that into my day-to-day, or I really want to take that back to England, or I want to take that back to my family or my friends, or you know, anything.
Well, one thing that Tim McCartney said, and he talks about how, you know, people come up to him and go, I want to help, but what can I do? You know, that's nonsense, really. You know, the world is not going to change by us doing necessarily the huge big thing all together, and we can't do anything until all of us are together doing the big thing. If every one of us did one little bit of generosity a day, just did one, buy a sandwich for that person on the corner who looks a bit poor and not fed, or one little thing, but the accumulation of all the tiny acts of kindness would do it. But we're all kind of waiting around for the big act that's going to be the great Hollywood ending with, you know, the cavalry and the, you know, so we don't do anything. But the truth is that we could get the momentum going if everybody just pledged that for the next year, a day is not going to go by without you doing one clear, generous, simple act of kindness. And if everyone did that, it would create the momentum we're looking for. We actually need to do it with little things, not wait around for the big thing. And that makes me happy.
Mm. Yeah, that's beautiful. It's really
That's Tim
beautiful.
McCartney. You should check him out.
I
We're
shall.
going to do one of these uplift things. He talked there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I saw so many talks, but I didn't see his. So
You should.
I have,
He's a
I
real
have my
inspiration.
part. Yeah, I will find it and watch it. Um, and so I just guess to close, and this is something that I always ask people that we interview through Spread the Love, because again, we're a community of conscious entrepreneurs, change makers, people that are wanting to make a difference, however big or small. And like you were saying before, it requires you to get out of your comfort zone. It requires you to unplug from that corporate job in the city that's paying you an absolute shit ton of money. It requires you to perhaps leave the business behind that you've been running for however long, because it makes you a lot
Or
of
adapt
money.
it.
Sorry?
Or adapt it.
Exactly. And this is what I do. I help people do that, either birth something from new or reposition it. But it takes courage. It really does take courage to follow your truth and follow your true passion and your soul's desire, and live a life of purpose, and make money from being purposeful and from serving, which again, you know, service was a really huge message, and the importance of it at Uplift. So, you know, and you've made One Giant Leap, and you do these amazing workshops and lots of other magical, fantastic things. I was just wondering if I'm certain that at some point in your life you would have needed to step away from something that felt very, very comfortable and step into a different space. Is there any advice, or is there one tip that you would give to people who, you know, are about to make a decision, or are having to live it on a daily basis and just face it every day?
Yes, there is. If I could be a total fascist, I would make it so that every single person on the planet took up a breath practice, like Qigong. Qigong is like an ancient Chinese Taoist practice, like Tai Chi, but different. It's internal. If I could make everybody do that, our problems would be solved. Because in order to have the courage you're talking about, you're going to have vulnerability. And vulnerability is a very powerful physical experience. Forgetting about the concept of I'm vulnerable, the actual physical impact of feeling vulnerable and drawing upon your character, it takes having quite an open system to be able to bear that sensation. The reason that we don't do it and we stay in the comfort zone is we don't like the sensations that keep impacting us when you're mean to me, or when this happens or that happens. So it's those who are doing a breath practice, it's those who are doing Qigong that have opened up their system so that when a big wave comes of fear or vulnerability, you can be with it. If you're not doing a breath practice or some sort of Qigong or some sort of yoga or something where you're really, really in touch with how your body's feeling and willing to feel it, if you haven't cultivated the willingness to feel your feelings, you're never going to jump into the courage, because every time there's a hitch, every time there's a wave, it's going to collapse you. So if I could be a fascist, I would get everybody to start a breath practice, an internal embodiment feeling practice, so that you get much more used to feeling more and more intense feelings, much more okay to feel your own energy, which is all it ever is. And then if you've got that grid which can take that, you've done a breath practice, and then when a wave hits you, it doesn't collapse you. It's like, that's intense, but I'm still here. If everyone did that, then there would be a lot more courage, because we could take the discomfort that comes with it. Without that, we keep getting knocked over by we're very, very fragile. It makes us chunkier and stronger. If we're doing a breath practice, an internal embodiment practice, it means we can take a more intense experience. And that's what's going to come with all this courage, is a more intense experience. So if you're listening and you want to do one thing, find a Qigong teacher near you, a breath practice or a Tai Chi or a yoga, but a teacher that's going to make you really, really be willing to feel your own energy. And then the outside world is not going to seem such a monster.
Wow. That's a good one. That's really cool. So, yeah, I would love to talk to you forever, but I'm going to have to wrap this up because, yeah, we'll need to have space to fit everyone else in to the event. But thank you so much, Jamie. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, thank you for being thoroughly awesome at Uplift and all the other amazing things that you do. I know that you were in Australia running workshops. It was last year, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Hope to come next December too.
Okay, so December 2016.
Yeah, this winter, this summer for you. You know, like I've just come back, but whether it be sort of December or January, in nearly a year's time, yeah, I'd love to come back. So anyone that wants to be part of their thing, if you want to invite me to be part of your thing, I can dot around all over the place. Yeah, I'd like to come and do more.
Yeah, that would be amazing. And so if people want to kind of get in touch or just get on your newsletter or whatever, they just go to your website?
That's right, yeah, and I'm very easy to find. I'm very lonely. So I read everything that comes. Jamie at jamiecatto.com. It comes straight to me.
Okay, awesome. Well, like I said, thank you so much for your time and your energy and your thoughts and feelings, and wisdom, and yeah, wish you well, and I'm sure our paths will cross again at some point.
Nice. Thanks for thinking of me.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Lots of love.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.